Her objectives are to identify and understand the basic differences between inspirational and other kinds of speeches, to learn how to evaluate an audience and develop emotional rapport with them, and to develop a speech style and delivery that will move the audience. So here today to tell us about the Job Seeker's Mountain is Emily Cortez.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. While I'm turning everything on and before you start timing, one quick, just to set the stage, this is a talk I'll be giving at the end of the month for Robert Half International to an actual group of senior level job searchers. Some may or may not have been out of the job market for quite some time, but they meet once a month, have a speaker talk either on technical job seeking topics or something motivational like this, and then they network afterwards. So this is an attempt of mine to reorganize my standing material and try to do it in less than 10 minutes, just to give you guys a flavor and have me start thinking through what works and what doesn't. So you are all out of the market, trying to find jobs, and my job is to help inspire you. And do we have any lights we can turn down?
Yes.
I'll go and get started to do that. Great, well thank you so much for having me today. I'm going to tell you first off that just because I climb mountains doesn't mean that I have all the answers, but climbing the mountains that I have has really given me a different perspective and a way at looking at things differently. I've climbed on 6 of the 7 continents, lived on a glacier for weeks, and slept at 23,000 feet. Now, in order to get to the mountains, and you can see that I'm a small woman, there are certain things that I've had to do in order to be in this really challenging environment filled with obstacles. And then there are many things that I bring back from that environment that gives me a different perception on daily life. But one of the things that I've really thought about is when we think about obstacles, and the obstacle that you all are facing are finding a rewarding job in this market. There are many other obstacles in our lives. But we don't just think about one obstacle and how do we overcome that one, but how do we continuously overcome obstacles? Because life is a series of challenges. Things that come easy are not always the ones that are most rewarding. It's the ones that we really work hard on that give the most satisfaction. So in order to think about how to continuously overcome obstacles, I'm an MBA. I couldn't help myself. So I created the 4 Ps. Preparation, partners, perspective, and perseverance. This is my formula on how to continuously overcome obstacles. So in terms of preparation, I'm a small woman. I'm not naturally athletic. I'm not a 6'2", 200-pound guy that can blast up slopes. So I have to be more prepared than the average climber to carry the heavy packs for long hours in difficult conditions. So what I did when I first started climbing was to leverage experts. I went out and I realized that snow camping was a major component of climbing. And so I found the Sierra Club Snow Camping Training Series. I hired guides and went on crevasse rescue, glacier travel, ice climbing trips, and learned from the guides. I also hired an expert out of Seattle who specializes in helping people train for high altitude expeditions, because I knew no one that did this crazy stuff. Everyone thought I was completely insane. So I went out and I researched what skills do I need to acquire to be successful, and then went out and methodically acquired them. And I think it's very similar with the job searching. You need to leverage your experts, the people here at Robert Half International that live, eat, and breathe the job arena are who you should be leveraging and picking their brain and utilizing their resources and their feedback. This is a picture of us. We actually get lowered into crevasses by our teammates and hope that they don't drop us. And then we learn how to prusik or ascend a rope without touching anything else. So this is a critical skill to make sure if you ever do fall in a crevasse that you're able to get your way back out on your own. And this is me ice climbing near Tahoe. So these are obviously a little bit different in terms of how you're using your skills, and there's a little more risk involved, but the concept is still the same, that If you figure out what skills you need and what feedback you need, and you leverage the experts to make sure you're adequately prepared, then you are better set up for success when opportunity arises. Partners, whether it's in climbing or marriage or business, who you choose as your partner is very critical. Anything that's going on in your life, who you surround yourself with is going to also set you up for not just success, but how you experience the journey towards success. Is it miserable or is it fulfilling and rewarding? So in 2008, I had broken my collarbone in a mountain bike crash and had surgery, had a pin holding my collarbone together. And one of my climbing partners, Jeff, said, "For your birthday, I'm saving Mount Sill for you. I'm not going to climb it until you're well enough." So we decided to climb it over Labor Day weekend, partly because I still had the pin in, and I'm like, well, I can't re-break it if the pin is still in. The next week taking it out, then I'd be at risk again. So there I am with this pin actually sticking out of my shoulder under the skin. He had to help me get the pack on because it couldn't touch anything. It was too painful. And we loaded up with 61-pound packs in order to climb this Mount Sill. There we go. So that's Mount Sill on the left. And where you see the sunlight turn into shadow, that's called the Swiss arête. So we were doing a technical route on a 14,000-foot plus peak. Nothing to shake a stick at. There's Jeff, the good partner. And what happened was, about halfway up on the left-hand skyline, I did a move that's called the reach around. It's only because you reach around to a crack system, and there's a huge void, and you can just see about 2,000 feet down, and it gives a lot of people pause. But for some reason, it didn't bother me at all, and I got into the crack system, but with my little hands, had trouble gaining purchase. So I did a move called a layback. And when I laid my weight back, straight arm like this, I felt the pin blow through my shoulder. So there I am at like 13,800 feet, and now we have a situation, and I have to get through the crux of the entire climb, and that's the difficult part of the entire climb. So I took a deep breath and tried to tune out the pain, got to my partner and said, "We have a situation. I actually don't want to talk about it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to be reminded of it. I'm just going to try to tune it out, and let's get to the top of this peak and get down." Now, long story short, we had to descend a non-standard route. That's looking straight down over 2,000 feet to the glacier. We didn't have any information whether or not we'd be able to get out of the birch or in the crevasse that's right next to the mountain. And ended up having to spend the night outside, unprepared, at about 12,000 feet in sub-zero temperatures, spooning for warmth. So you know you have a good partner when, first of all, they don't lose their calm in this situation. He dropped his pack at one point, we lost his water, we both looked at each other and said, "That's not good. How much water do we have left?" Instead of falling into really stressing out and screaming and blaming at each other, we just both got this really eerie calm. And we ended up surviving. It's one of the only trips where I've really felt like I actually survived and was worried at multiple decision points what could happen. But I realized that I would want to climb with Jeff again because I knew that in crisis he could handle it. So when you're thinking about your potential employers, they are your partners. And how they treat people, and how they respond to crisis, and how they reward people is going to be really impactful on the success of your career going forward. So even though it might be easy in this time, and if you've been out of work for a long time, to get a little bit of that desperate feeling, I just need a job. And maybe you really just do need a job to get through this period, but if you're thinking about a career decision, interview your employer just as much as they're interviewing you. It will show that you have more interest in them. You're prepared. You want to make sure there's a mutual fit. And I think that says a lot in this environment when a lot of people do seem desperate. This is where we actually spent the night sleeping on the ground on the rope. Now, perspective is another aspect that I bring back from the mountains. This is a climb that I did on Mount Rainier, where it was a fundraising climb to raise money for breast cancer. I decided I was finally going to use my mountaineering skills for good instead of evil. And on it, I was the only experienced climber. Everyone else had been touched by cancer somehow and had just been through their glacier travel course. So this one young buck came up to me as we're looking at this evil, evil slope. We've already been going for 6 hours at this point. And he says, "Emily, how are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm great." And he's like, "Well, I'm not doing so great." I was like, "Really, why?" "I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I don't think I trained enough, I'm just not sure I'm gonna make it." And I said, "Oh, well, I'm all those things too, but that's normal, so that's why I'm great." He's like, "Oh, so that means I'm doing great too." And I was like, "Yeah, mountaineering is really hard." And for the entire rest of the trip, this fellow, that's him right there, had a bounce in his step. And I realized that just looking at things differently can completely change your experience. It also showed me the impact that we have on other people that I didn't realize. I didn't realize that by giving him positive reinforcement, he went on to climb again. But if I, as the expert, had told him otherwise, it may have completely deflated him and we'd never see him on a mountain again. And this is the kind of terrain we were facing in the middle of the night. And yet, we all made it to the top, and he did wonderfully. Perseverance is the final of the P's. And this is really just, you've got to keep going. What's your other option? You're not going to give up looking for work. When I went to, one of my dreams is to climb this mountain, Denali in Alaska, that's 20,320 feet. And I was thwarted in 2007 by a back injury, in 2008 by the collarbone injury, and finally in 2009, I got there. But this is what Denali makes you feel like. And we suffered, and we climbed through really tough conditions and through the middle of the night. And in the end, our climb ended right there. But again, because I had a partner that was fabulous, I will go back and I will try to summit that again. So my message to you is don't give up. Pick your partners wisely. Think about how you're looking at things and be prepared. Thank you.